Your phone calls are coming up in the next segment. Our guest can talk about any topic. Mike in Illinois has been patiently holding. Mike in Colorado. We've got Lee and Lynn. Lynn's been holding a really long time, too, so I'll go to Mike and Lynn first. But joining us for the rest of the hour, co-hosting with us is John Rappaport, NoMoreFakeNews.com. I'm not going to get into this investigative journalist or author, researcher, but he's worked as an investigator for some of the biggest publications and TV stations and networks out there. And he's just really a smart guy. We always like getting his commentary, not just here on my show, but on the nightly news as well, NoMoreFakeNews.com. Found a lot of his great books there on philosophy, history, research, the media. Very, very thought-provoking fellow. I wanted to get him on about the general state of the world. Also an article he wrote about where TPP and the globalist takeover is going right now. And just cover a smattering of the waterfront. And, of course, take your calls. But, John, wow, what do you make of Trump? I mean, I don't know what your answer is going to be, but clearly, regardless of who he is, we're seeing a collapse of the credibility of the system way beyond what you wrote about with my Piers Morgan appearance. This just seems to be cascading. Where does it go from here, and what are the elite going to do to try to maintain control? Or do you disagree? There hasn't been a collapse.
No, there's a collapse, all right, Alex, because of what he's saying. You know, it's really simple. You can hate him. You can say he's a fake, he's a phony, he's this or that, and so forth. But when the guy gets up and gives a foreign policy speech and says, we need to end globalism, for example, we need to cancel these trade treaties, these giant treaties that are sucking life and money and jobs out of America, he's talking common sense that the media have refused to discuss for 20, 30 years or more. And now there it is. So if you don't like the guy, if you hate him, look at the words. Forget who's saying them. Look at the other side of the coin. I mean, really the other side of the coin. Who's the other guy who's talking about these trade deals and globalism all throughout the campaign? Bernie Sanders. Put together the voting bloc of Sanders plus Trump, because a lot of that voting bloc has to do with defeating globalism and canceling these trade treaties. Look at the size of that voting bloc versus the witch who's riding down the center stripe on her blood-soaked hands, Hillary Clinton, who is a globalist to the core, and you realize the divide and conquer strategy here. I mean, it's unbelievable. Let's take the people in the United States, all of whom know that this is a complete farce, a crime, a tragedy, the destruction of the country as we move into the globalist framework for the world order of the future. Let's just forget all about that, but let's divide and conquer these people. Let's put them on opposite sides where they're screaming at each other over the fence so that Hillary just rides down the middle and wins. Well, that's what's happening. That's
a great point. Do you think Trump understands that? At your gut level, do you think the fix is in?
No, I think he understands this very well. The question is, does Bernie Sanders understand it? And I think in his heart of hearts alone at night, he does. He's looking at Trump and scratching his head and saying, I hate this guy. He's everything that I don't want to be. He's everything that shouldn't happen to America. But you know, I have to admit, on the issue of the trade treaties and globalism, I mean, we both know pretty much the same data, and we're on the same side.
Yeah, if Sanders has credibility, he's got to go with Trump, but he's not. He says he'll pledge to Hillary, who's gotten more corrupt Wall Street money, more dirty crony capitalist war money than anybody ever in history. I mean, she is disgusting. But how epic is it, as you just said, John Rappaport of NoMoreFakeNews.com, that Trump's saying, cancel globalism, up with sovereignty, up with basic things. That is so anathema to the enemy. There's no way they could be behind him because he's bringing back nationalism and framing the debate. England's trying to get out of the EU. The narrative's changing. World government's in trouble. The plan isn't going according to plan. They're in trouble.
Big trouble. You know, Obama has to go over there to England and say to the Britain, UK, to the leaders, to the people, if you don't stay in the European Union, meaning globalism, because that's what it's all about, if you get out You have to go to the back of the line to negotiate a separate trade treaty with the United States. Well, that tells you who Obama is.
And the UK should call that bluff in a minute, just like we should when the communist Chinese tell us what to do.
Exactly. You say, well, what are you talking about? You're talking about defeating everything that needs to be defeating, and you're saying, no, we should join up with the insanity. So please leave. Get out.
You have such a way of crystallizing the battlefront and what we're really seeing. John Rappaport, stay there. Let's come back and go to calls, cover other key news with John Rappaport. Stay with us. Revolution in their hearts. The children start to march. And their hearts are filled with hate by the globalists, and they're waving communist flags and foreign flags. They don't ask, why did the mainstream media push this? Why did my college teach me it was good? Why did George Soros, the Nazi collaborator, teach me to go out and shoot cops in the head? Because it'll make you the villain and then the heroes. So total tyranny can be brought in. Not that the cops themselves are bad either, but it's part of a dialectic. It's part of a clash of civilizations. It's part of a formulae, a program, an operation, a plan. We know the globalist plan, and we know how to stop it. We're going right back to John Rappaport and your phone calls. We'll get the calls passed and continue with him. NoMoreFakeNews.com. Just very briefly, I've gotten the authorization instead of saying today's the last day, because they kept saying stop it. I made a deal. I can offer 30 to 40% off. The food's freshly made, high quality, non-GMO, storable foods. My Patriot Supply powers it. They're full spectrum of food, private labeled, the full selection, totally fresh, 30 to 40% off. Private labeled is InfoWarsLife.com. You can buy the exact same My Patriot that's excellent right next to it for more at InfoWarsStore.com. We sell both. But I'm contractually able to go 30 to 40% off. They want us dependent. We have great water filtration systems that just cut out all the garbage. ProPure, Alexa Pure. We've got the shower filters that have the fast flow that are 4-stage that just cut all the garbage out. The very best systems out there that are less than leading competitors that don't even take as much stuff out. In the case of the ProPure Pro Max, really great systems. All survival items, including all nutraceuticals, all shortwave radios, all non-GMO heirloom seeds are 10% off. Then 10% off when you sign up for auto ship. Then free shipping on orders of $50 or more. And it just goes on and on and on. InfoWarsStore.com is the umbrella site. InfoWarsSelect.com takes you right to the storable foods. InfoWarsLife.com brings you right to the nutraceuticals. InfoWarsHealth.com brings you to the third-party stuff from Longevity that's excellent. Highest discounts you're going to find are on that site. InfoWarsHealth.com. InfoWarsTeam.com is its sister site. And purchasing that there also helps fund our operation. So that's how we do this. Not with taxpayer money like NBC and MSNBC and, of course, NPR, but with people buying high-quality products. Mother's Day is here. If you order today, we can still get it to you by this weekend. Great gift. Secret 12 for your mom or a bottle of X2 or Oxy powder. Amazing stuff, and your purchase funds this operation. I'm going to go to Lynn, and I'm going to go to Mike here in a moment. Mike first and others. But after we take some of these calls, you can talk to these topics, obviously. John Rappaport, what is it you think is most important to cover today?
Well, what we're covering here is the march of globalism. These impending trade treaties that empower mega corporations that are colluding with governments to steal and rob and put people into poverty all over the world, to lower energy production. That's one of their main goals.
That's a mass culling. That's how you create poverty.
That's right. So that, to me, is the big one.
And you've got an article that's excellent, BRICS and the Brexit countries, Secrets of the Crypt. We're going to cover that after a few calls. But, folks, when they double our power prices the last 8 years on average, shutting down over 1,000 plants, that is devastating. A poor person now loses maybe 20% more of their paycheck. This is how, and you do it in places like Africa, it causes a revolution when food prices go up to 50% of your paycheck. This is how they foment this by design. Thank you for holding. Let's go ahead now, and let's go to Mike in Illinois. You're on the air with John Rappaport. Go ahead.
This is Mike in Illinois. I just want to say, in a couple months, I'll be 65, heading into the last part of my life. But I want to just turn the clock back a little bit, 46 years to 1970. At that time, I was a 19-year-old college student, and I used to listen to a radio host called Sherman Skolnick. And he talked about a book called Farewell America. And at that time, I had to mail away for that book because that was not allowed to be published in the United States of America.
I probably had Sherman Skolnick on 50 times, died 4 or 5 years ago. Great guy, incredible anti-corruption researcher. He would say stuff I couldn't believe. I'd have him on 20 years ago, and he'd go, most of the media is paid. They pay for the news stories, you see, big corporations. And I knew they put their people in, but then later it came out. Really smart guy.
Very smart guy. And lo and behold, what we're talking about today, globalist, 45 years ago, another word for it was a commission. And who was a commission? CIA, FBI, big oil at the time, British Secret Service, corporations, and mafia. And what worries me about this is that who was the man in office at the time that played ball with them? You got it, JFK. And what happened to him? He double-crossed them, and what happened to him? He got eliminated.
Yeah, he wanted to keep cutting taxes, and he decided to end the Vietnam War. He said, but cutting taxes gives us more money. It makes people wealthy. More money comes in. They said, look, just shut up and die. How's that? Amazing points. Anything else, Mike?
After that, their man got in, LBJ, the Great Society, to me, was the great flop.
And they ended the family. They started ending the family. Great point. John, how profound is it that they're so arrogant now? They tell us the TPP's written. It merges all these unions together. It's above the law. We get copies finally after they pass it. Just totally draconian. But still, nothing is really being said about it in mainstream media. But meanwhile, they get arrogant and say, hey, we don't even have to have elections anymore. Those never counted. We just appoint the people now. But that backfired. That didn't work. It shows they can only go so far. And I think they've tried to go too far, and it's really backfiring. Your comment on what he was saying and on that, please, Mr. Rappaport.
Absolutely. As he says, it's been going on for a very long time. The first great trade treaty, GATT, after the Second World War, they started negotiating that in 1945. So this goes back a long way, the plan. And the plan is to empower these mega corporations to decide the law for whatever country they're in. I mean, people have to understand it. These trade treaties, as they're called, TPP, TTIP, this is all about saying, look, the judicial system of countries is extinct. We don't need this anymore. What we're going to have instead is corporate tribunals. And this is all about a corporation saying, look, we've got all this stuff that we want to sell all over the world. And we don't care whether you think it's toxic, destructive, you know, pesticides and toxic medical drugs, GMOs, tainted food, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to sell it. And if any country refuses it, then we're going to sue that government in a corporate tribunal. The judicial system of that country will have nothing to say about it. And hey, listen, there's an interesting story today. The NFL has told their players not to eat meat from Mexico.
But citizens can. They're shipping it in record numbers full of steroids and drugs. That's a powerful article. That's in the LA Times and others. Talk about it.
Yeah, because the players could test positive for steroid use and be suspended. So it's like saying, well, we don't know what's in the food, but we know that some of the food coming from Mexico has got this stuff in it. And if you, an NFL star, eat this meat, then you could test positive for steroids.
But it's okay for your kids. It's okay for your kids.
Kids, everybody else, it's fine, whatever. And the reason I bring this up is because in these trade deals, what's happening is people will not be able to know what country their food is coming from.
Just like we can't know GMO labeling here. And let's expand. That's one small part of it. But key, they're also diplomatically and corporately immune. And they can also use the regulations to shut down domestic operators. It's a monopoly takeover system.
Absolutely. They can say, this is the food for planet Earth. Deal with it. You can't resist it because we have these tribunals that will overcome any system you now have. So it turns to the people to revolt against this completely, just the way they're now revolting against the political system. And it's
I was about to say, it's a microcosm, as above, so below. that they would try to go, hey, we have super delegates that decide now. That's the way it is. Go and shut. People said, wait, we vote. So see, it's backfiring. That's the good news. As long as we resist. Look at the Brexit. How exciting is that for you?
Fantastic. You know, nobody in England who isn't a globalist wants to stay in the European Union. The whole idea is England would leave the European Union and say, gee, guess what? We're a country. We forgot about that. We're our own country. We can protect ourselves.
Yeah, we don't need the bureaucrats to make 91% of our laws and open our borders and tell us we can't fly the stars and bars because it's racist, or stars and stripes. I mean, it's just crazy.
Completely crazy. So I'm just hoping that this movement gains a lot more steam, because there are a lot of people in the U.S., I can tell your listeners in England, who are rooting for you to get out of the European Union completely, because this will start a domino effect.
Absolutely. They're saying that. It's already happening. And here's the good news. Thomas Jefferson said the level of tyranny you will live under is the exact amount you put up with. It's equilibrium, folks. If you put up with tyranny, it'll just push and push and push till the execs are in your house saying, you know, let me have sex with your wife, like rollerball. You know, we own you. You've got to stand up for yourself. A nation of sheep will be ruled by wolves. John, I want to go back to calls, but getting more into this article, I don't want to be too positive about this, but it's a paradox. There's like all these brain-dead zombies on the left and right, and all these foreign-funded groups that are here, and all this balkanization getting dumber and dumber, but there is a large group of people of every race, color, and creed getting more and more enlightened. It seems like a paradox. What would you call this, or do you agree or disagree?
I agree, and just as you indicated there with the twist, you know, some people are falling further asleep, but a lot more people are waking up. They're just sick and tired of all the lies from every direction, you know, and people are beginning to connect the dots on these lies and realize. We just had a study that was published out of Johns Hopkins, Washington Post, yesterday. 250,000 deaths a year in the U.S. caused by medical errors. Third leading cause of death in the U.S. 10% of all people who die in the U.S. are dying from medical errors. And here's these prop job, phony experts, medical experts, representing that system saying vaccines are completely safe and effective, and anyone who tells you any different is a lunatic. That's the foundation these criminals are standing on. Some people are waking up from that direction. Other people are waking up to the whole superdelegate insanity and the theft of government. Other people are waking up to Brexit. Other people are waking up to, you know, we want to take everybody's guns, especially the people who don't shoot other people. You know, so from all directions, people are waking up and they are resisting.
Meanwhile, though, the tyranny is intensifying. Colorado, especially, a beautiful state, great people, but it's this fake liberal tyranny gets such cover. A woman, I was in the local news, we had an article, talked about chemtrails and geoengineering, which is partially declassified. It's all over TV and movies. It's super hot topic. Prince was talking about it, everybody. Merle Haggard. Chuck Norris came out and exposed it and linked to all of it in WorldNet Daily. She had her child taken, and the judge said, because she believes in a dangerous fringe subculture, danger to her daughter, close quote. I mean, even if she was wrong, she should be allowed to believe something's going on if she's not hurting her daughter. But believing it, her daughter's been taken, and now Colorado wants to start basically forced inoculations.
Yeah, they want to register everybody who's not vaccinated in that state. Complete insanity. And they're going to have a major revolt on their hands, I can tell you that. And this story about the mother and her child is spreading like wildfire because people are seeing the complete insanity of it. The government, stay out. It's not your business what I tell my child.
They admit there's a secret program spraying us. It's on the Discovery Channel.
Right. But as you say, regardless of whether it's true or not, here's a mother saying XYZ to her child, and suddenly government agents show up because a parent says something to her child. There are millions of people waking up on that score in this country because, as we've all been documenting, you know, people grow vegetables in their yard and suddenly they can't have a garden. They fly a flag. That's not okay. A kid comes to school with a screensaver, with a gun on it, and all of a sudden he's a criminal. This is the government just saying, we're taking over. That's it. We have the bureaucrats. We're going to do whatever we want. People are not going to stand for it.
But there's also another paradigm. I've noticed the military and the police, there are really some bad cops out there and bullies, obviously, is from the general public. But I'm not lionizing. I've just found the military and police are some of the most awake groups now. And they're saying, stop the people above us. We don't like this.
Yeah, you bet. Now, that's going to cause some major disruptions, believe me, because after all, the government relies on force. That's what it is. That's what George Washington basically said. Central government is coercion.
It's not eloquence, it's force.
Exactly. So who are these government leaders depending upon? Force. Cops, soldiers. If cops and soldiers are waking up and saying, no, we're not going to do this. This is not our job. This is the government pretending that they have this power that they don't have. The whole thing is going to change and collapse.
So bottom line, we're entering a time of total change, of total upheaval for good and bad. And I think we've just entered the edge of an accelerated time. Correct me if you think I'm wrong. And then B, how long do you think this time of change is going to be? I see it now in human development basically never stopping. I think we're hitting the beginning of the human species. I mean, I think, and of course, we began before that, but I mean, I think we're about to enter an entire new paradigm.
Absolutely. We're just at the beginning, and there's no end to it. It's not like, okay, well, in 10 years, the whole thing is going to be walked back and we're all going to conform. No, it's never going to happen. This is just going to spread and spread and spread.
And that's why the elite in their own writings are freaking out. They want to control the destiny of the species and steal it. And there is a race consciousness to all humans. It's really a group collective mind. It's been proven scientifically, and it wants to thrive and go to the stars, and it's saying no. And I think the elite should just get out of the way.
Well, that's the lesson. They're going to make their decision, but regardless of what they say, they're going to be swept aside. That's it.
I love it. You're absolutely right. God, I love humanity. Let's go ahead. John Rappaport's our guest. Let's talk to Lee in California, or Lynn in California. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex. I wanted to talk real quick about Donald Trump. They mentioned today that he was going to do a vice presidential selection, and I was just going to basically advise that Donald Trump not select any vice presidential candidate who is from the establishment or current politician. Back when JFK was the president, they popped him and killed him because they had their establishment candidate, LBJ, in the wings. LBJ escalated the war in Vietnam. 58,000 men died through the Gulf of Tonkin lies. I'm really concerned that he needs to be very careful about his selection of a vice presidential candidate and don't defer that off to some politicians that ran against him or something. Bobby Kennedy, they turned right around and killed him immediately after they killed LBJ because, JFK, because they knew what he was up to because he'd been side by side.
No, he told people they killed my brother and I'm going to get him.
You bet. You bet. So they'll tolerate Trump, though, if they don't have a back door. They've been working for 100 years to get here, just like Mao said, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. They'll take a couple of steps back for a few years to renew their efforts against America. So we need to be aware of that, and Trump needs to be especially aware of who he selects as a vice presidential candidate.
I agree, and stay there, Lynn. You've been holding a while, and I want you to be able to add some more points, but how do you think they'll come at Trump, Rappaport? Because I want your deep perspective on this. They'll try to co-opt, obviously, but he already met with Haas, and then Haas attacked him afterwards because Trump rebuffed him. Continuing, he said, we got nuclear weapons. We don't have to be on the Korean Peninsula. I mean, South Korea will nuke them. They got nukes, too. I mean, Trump really has got a lot of good old generals that are advising him that just are explaining this is all a big boondoggle to rip us off. And he's smart enough to say, hey, big military, so the public then still feels secure and everything. But the truth is, we have mutually assured destruction. He wants to actually control our borders and things. But they're going to try to co-opt him, try to demonize him, try to dig up made-up scandals or whatever, try to steal the election. But I really think the momentum's behind him when he goes after Hillary. And she's a witch who's got people behind her that are used to power. Rappaport, I'm worried they really might try to kill him. I think we should be talking about what happens if they do kill Trump.
No question about it. You know, that's the, quote, final solution, if they can't do it any other way. I completely agree with the caller, by the way, on vice presidential selection. Don't pick a politician. Do not do that. You can surround yourself with all the advisors you want who know about the Senate and the House and this and that and all of the, corruption, basically, the way things are. But don't put somebody on the ticket who is just another politician. Do the same thing that you've been doing. In other words, you're taking a radical stance. Well, pick somebody who is in line with that. That's going to be just as much of an energizing force as you are. Don't go to the Senate. Don't go to the House. Don't go to the governors. Forget all that.
And by the way, you're absolutely right. Insiders that are into corruption always go, he won't know how to run it. You guys have been running into the ground. He does know how it's run. He used to buy and sell you legally. He says, it's a bad system. I don't like it. I want to fix it. And he's not going to fix it overnight. He wants to just dial it back, make some better deals, bring in good immigrants we need, not bring in criminals and child molesters, and do a few things like that. But see, you guys want to shut the republic down because we've already built your world government. Trump knows we've reached that final phase of betraying America. He's swooping in like the Deus Ex at the end to grab victory from the jaws of defeat, in my view. But all I know is he's not our only hope. We're taking action. Populism is the answer. Awakening is the answer. Lynn, other points?
Well, I was going to say that I think that we should all be concerned. Trump is one man. He will have the legal position to do a lot of things. But we had 5.5 million people disenfranchised in Colorado, and little or no complaint by the people. 2.5 million of those people participated in the legality of marijuana. This doesn't speak very well for our republic at this point. Trump cannot do it all alone. We will have to be there to help him. We'll have to be involved, and we will have to enable things.
You know, I almost want to take some of these callers, get their name, and have like days where they come on as guests each hour, like a few times a week, like Lynn and the guy from Australia. They're so much better to listen to than I am, and so much better at crystallizing what they've said. In fact, Lynn, send us your email to Rob D at Infowars.com, just Rob and the letter D, as a guest idea, kind of the knowledge of the people, the knowledge of the crowd. And I want to start a segment every week, at least for an hour, to have 4 or 5 of these men and women on, Lynn from California, the other fellow from Australia, because I tell you, the knowledge of the average people out there completely trumps the establishment, John.
Absolutely. And to take this point further, let's assume, okay, people think Trump is crazy, he's not real or whatever, but imagine that he might be. Let's say he is. And let's say by some circumstance, he's in the White House. What does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. Because of the way things work, because of the corruption, every time that he or somebody like him would try to make a move to solve a problem for real, there's going to be such tremendous force arrayed against him and insanity that he has only one option: to go back to the people immediately. This is what populism 21st century style is going to be like. On networks, on the web, however he has to do it, and say to the people, my fellow Americans, here's what I tried to do today.
That's right. That's the key. That's the key. Day one, when they block him, go... I'm sorry, you're absolutely right. Day one.
Day one,
Yeah.
exactly. I tried to walk back this treaty, and here's exactly what happened. Here are the men's names who tried to stop me. This is what they're doing right now.
The people will tear them apart.
Exactly. You've got to go back to the people 3 times a week, whatever it takes. Otherwise, the whole thing falls apart. If you're a real populist, that's what you do in the 21st century. You're on the web. Hello, everybody all over the world. This is how the forces of evil tried to stop me and what you want today. Chapter and verse.
Yeah, what you said is such genius. That's why I was just sputtering and interrupting. It's so genius. You're right. I think Trump knows that. He has to day one. He's been exposing the dirty tricks. We've been doing as well, right along with the people, the citizen journalists. And he just needs to be totally transparent with, this is what I wanted to do. It's what I tried to do. They're doing this to me now. Look what they're doing. And the people justly will politically and economically tear these occupiers, these collaborators, these traitors, these Vichy French apart.
Absolutely. Absolutely will. The people all over the United States who don't have a job because of these trade treaties, and Trump says to them, I'm trying to get you a job now, but here are the people that are stopping me right now. Here are the people inside the White House that I didn't even know about. Here are the senators.
Sure.
Here are the congressmen. These are their names. This is what
Well,
they're
let me
doing.
throw this out. I'm for drug decriminalization, but it doesn't mean I buy the whole drug culture. The marijuana culture that's totally into being zombies and the weed's so strong and everything, Soros is funding that. Colorado, the last caller made a great point. They want us so bombed out of our brains, 2 million people go vote to make marijuana legal, but where are the people mad in Colorado? The thousands are mad. Where are the people mad about having their vote canceled? People got to start getting angry, John.
About the right things. Absolutely, Alex.
Absolutely. I mean, the whole pot culture thinks it's like magic and it's the answer to everything. Look, you got a right to hurt yourself if you want to. Marijuana does have some medical reasons. I get it. I'm not for the drug war. But because I'm against the drug war doesn't mean I think you should be shooting heroin down your veins. I mean, look, if George Soros wants you stoned, it's a reason. So he can rob the living daylights out of you. Back in 70 seconds, 5 more minutes of Rappaport, more calls, then the big champagne celebration, Infowars.com/show. And I'm not celebrating just the win for Trump. It's the collapse of the globalist hoax. Their fraud is coming down. Now, what's on the other side? Not sure. I got questions on the board like, if Trump flip-flops on this, what's our plan? David in Michigan. I got support Trump and holding him accountable. I got callers asking that question over and over again. I want to go to some of those right now. John Rappaport's our guest. NoMoreFakeNews.com. Always great to have him co-hosting with us with all his great points and commentary. I said I want to pop champagne bottles for the victory of people waking up. I've only done this 6 years ago once when the whole world government Copenhagen Treaty came out, the secret emails, how it's all a fraud. Now it's meant to depopulate us came out. That devastated them. This is bigger. All over the world, there's a populist awakening. And people say, what are we going to do? If Trump ends up to be a fraud, which I don't think he is, or gets outmaneuvered, it's the resistance and the awakening that's unstoppable. If we're aware of this anti-human movement and we start resisting it and voting with our dollars and our actions, and as the culture grows of resistance, it's over. John?
Yeah. I mean, okay, let's suppose Trump gets in the White House and he's a total fake. Total fake, never meant anything he said at all.
We destroy him.
You bet. Now, that's a lesson to be learned as well. What do you think is going to happen when politicians realize, gee, these people weren't just worshiping Donald Trump. They wanted these ideas to come true. And if he's not going to do it, they're going to hold his feet to the fire and destroy him. Wow, that means that they're actually awake.
It's like V for Vendetta. When he says, listen,
yeah,
you may have got my flesh and blood, but ideas are bulletproof, baby. I win.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right, exactly. They think they're going to sit there and they think they're going to play games, John, and they think that it's all about Trump. No, it's about nationalism, common sense, the human family, and what works. Great point. Let's go ahead and take another call here. Let's talk to Mike in Texas. You're on the air with John Rappaport. Go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, I'm giving a standing ovation here in my office to you, to the callers today, to every guest you have. I am so energized. It's unbelievable. And it seems like everything is just razor sharp and focused and just searing. That's the first thing. I'm a Trump supporter, but like you, cautiously. And I was applauding when I heard your opening statement kind of to Donald Trump today, saying, listen, this is why we're behind you. Don't let us down, etc. And to everyone that's standing up and getting awake, and Donald Trump has basically provided the cover for people who, like myself, have been preaching the truth and have been...
That's it. It's only a focal point, like Ron Paul used to say about himself, but this is 50 times bigger.
I agree. It's not the cult of personality, because that's what we've been trained to follow. And this is bigger than that. And you're seeing it manifest and grow and get more and more steam, because people are more acute and on point with what they're saying. He's awakened those who needed the cover, who were beaten down. I was beaten down. I was exhausted. I couldn't get through to anybody and almost basically gave up. So now we have to say to Donald Trump, look, you've awakened the true freedom lovers, the true people with integrity, the true people that love their family, love freedom, want property rights, want freedom for everyone, not this fake victimization crap. Sorry, that's going on.
No, it is. Well, yeah. The West is liberal. We're the people, women power, and everybody getting power and freedom and money and your own choice and do what you want. Don't tell us we're attacking people.
100% agree. So to Donald Trump and to everybody out there, do not give up. Pop the champagne, have a beer, hug your kids. We've just begun. I'm so unbelievably energized, but we have to take these little celebrations to keep the momentum going. And to Donald Trump, like Rappaport just said and you just said, you know now that you've awakened the people that know the truth. And we're amassing now, and we're being diligent and diplomatic and proceeding.
And if you betray us, you'll be like Judas Iscariot. We won't have to go after you. You'll go after yourself. Thank you. Great point, Mike. I got to jump. Another incredible caller. And in such a way, people, John, come back for another full hour with us soon when I'm not so excited and out of control to really map out this more. Come back next week. Come on for an hour with us. NoMoreFakeNews.com. We salute you, brother. Incredible points today. What should we call this last 45-minute interview? What should the name of this be?
The Truth Revealed.
Yeah, well, it certainly is revealed, but I tell you, I don't know. Hey, well, I'm going to come back. Thank you so much, John Rappaport. I'm going to come back with some of the crew and David Knight in the other studio. Stay with us.
The reason I'm here today is to encourage the U.S. Congress to take action to protect our country from its most imminent threat. Electricity would cease, the internet would go down, and the banking system.
The smokescreen of national security used by government at every level.
A strong America is the only thing standing in the way. Country only needs a little chaos.
We have a fog that has descended on our entire nation.
Hello, Mr. President. Now is the time.
The average American family only has 3 days of food.
We need to talk face to face. This is important.
Sir, what's the mission? Disarm the population and restore order.
Have any weapons inside your home or on your person?
You had to give the president power to arrest any American by simply accusing them of terrorism.
The vanity of nationalism will quickly fade. These are but the birth pangs of a new world order.
I'm just so afraid of the world that you're gonna have to grow up in.
This is a time, man, woman, young or old, when folks run and hide, or they pull up their bootstraps and they fight.
When you sell your soul, it's a one-time thing. There's no going back.